Hey guys, welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about inflation. Just like everyone else on YouTube, you're hearing it all over. It's the trending topic. Is it going to happen? Is it happening? When will it happen? All that's going to be answered to the best of my abilities today in this video. Stay with me. So of course, you know, a lot of money is being dumped into the economy through the stimulus checks. What we thought was going to be one stimulus check has become two and then three. So there's continuous, endless supply of money that the government is throwing out into the economy. So what does that mean? It just means that people are spending money, but they're spending money that they didn't make, kind of inheriting it from the government, and you don't have to pay taxes on it. It's the best of both worlds, right? You're getting free money and you don't have to pay taxes on it. It's basically like working off the book. What we're going to talk about today is what can we do with the money that we have now to hedge inflation. This is just an example of what I found online, actually on Reddit. This was a house in 1963 that was being sold for $16,745. Fast forward till today, more modern, maybe a year or two back, it's over $1 million, $1.3 million, which is insanely crazy because I remember stories when my grandparents were telling me that they bought house, like a 3-family house, believe it was like $200,000, and the house now is worth like closer to $2 million, which is crazy, insane, the price of inflation and how that all works. Let's go with something that I actually found pretty interesting watching YouTube was the price history of Campbell tomato soup. They actually have a chart through the course of time from 1895 going all the way to our current state, which is a can of Campbell soup valued or worth 85 cents, today's value. As you see historically, that's what inflation does to the prices of groceries, not just Campbell soup, cars, homes, clothing, everything. A lot of things get factored into this inflation because things get more expensive. But what was more interesting in 2020 when things were being shut down and slowly things started opening back up again, people started charging more. I just couldn't understand it. I thought for whatever reason, it was like people would be happy to open up their businesses again and start working again, but things just got more expensive. I was ordering food. The prices just kept on going up. What used to be like $1 for a cup of coffee at like a local bakery store, no brand, not Starbucks, not Dunkin' Donuts, it was like $1. Now they're charging, it went up to like $1.10, and then it went up to like $1.20. So it's kind of sitting there, but it went 20 cents up more than what it used to be a year ago, which was telling me things, right? It wasn't just the coffee, it was other items. Everything was starting to add on additional cost to it. In short is like, oh my God, everything's getting more expensive. Now your dollar is not worth as much anymore. So how do we combat that? What can we do with our stimulus money? So this was just some searches I was doing, real estate prices versus inflation. And I found this Reddit. And of course, this is where the picture comes from. As of today, the S&P 500 has done pretty well today. Now, this whole talk of inflation, I was trying to wrap my head around it, try to get a better understanding. And I was watching a whole ton of YouTube gurus on YouTube were explaining it in their profession, in their sector as best as they can. Some believe in it, some don't believe in it, some just don't know. They're standing in the middle. So where do I stand? My thing is, whether I believe that it's going to happen or not, what would you do knowing from your own experiences that you see prices are going higher and higher? Right? Obviously, nothing ever went down except LCD screens. Okay. Now, TV is the only thing that, for whatever reason, the prices keep on going down as they get bigger and bigger. Besides LCD, LED TVs that you can find at Best Buy or Target or Walmart, let's omit that. Because that's the only thing that's costing less as you buy bigger and grander ones, okay? So one is stimulus money. So the government is throwing more money. And actually, I believe I read somewhere where there was talks of additional stimulus money being pumped into the economy. Not just after the third check. So there was 1, there was 2, there was 3, and then there was small business loans and assistance and all these other things that are funded with money. Okay, so that's 1. So what do you do with that money? Whether you get a stimulus money and you have income from your work, most people would want to save a portion of that or save all of it into their savings account. Now with inflation, that's gonna hurt you because things go up in price. Your dollar is not worth as much as it was a year or two ago. That will put your dollar, when you put into the bank, that's not accruing any or maybe bare minimum interest, where it's probably like 1% or less, you're losing value to your dollar. And that's one place that you would not want to store a good percentage of your money. Maybe just emergency funds, a month or 2 or 3, but No more than that. I mean, if you were to put, maybe if you were saving for a house and a down payment, and I'll get to that in a second. So the other thing is, you don't want to leave so much money into the bank, because if inflation happens, whether inflation happens or not, your dollar is getting less as each day goes by and years. You want to put that money to work for you. What am I talking about then? With all this fear of inflation, all the prices of these tech stocks, a lot of these big companies that have so much value to it, the prices are just dropping. If you do your homework and your due diligence on these particular companies, they are pretty much a good buy right now because the prices are so much more affordable, or at least is getting to a more realistic price where you can get into a position of buying some. If you have money there and you're familiar with the market, you do your due diligence and you do your homework and you look into these companies and say, hey, you know, X and X is so much lower than what it was a year or two ago, or just within the last year, maybe I should put myself in there, get a couple of shares. That works too, because then you at least know that what the company is worth, and if it's a good buy, then go for it. I'm not telling you to speculate on just throwing your money. Let's just say you had the $1,400 from your stimulus. I'm not telling you to just throw it into the market randomly, or you can just, buy an ETF or follow the S&P 500 and just let it ride, let it hold on to it. Okay, so that's 2. 3, if you have money to invest in real estate. Find something that would cash flow in rental income that will turn your dollar into $10. With inflation happening, if your rental income can generate more than the inflation percentage, let's just say it was 3% and you're cash flowing 8%, that's a no-brainer, right? Now, I'm not telling you to go spend like millions of dollars on a mansion or anything like that so you can just live in it. I'm talking about maybe a multifamily home out of state that's generating really decent income. That's how I'm staying relevant right now in this world, by generating income, rental income from multifamily homes. I have about 6 of them right now. Every month I'm collecting rent. You just have to do your homework again, just like buying stocks, right? If you were to look into a stock, you have to look into the house. And I'll probably create another video that explains all that. But when you're looking into houses for rental property, you want to make sure you're in a good area where there's good schools, good neighborhood, safer, less crime, things around it like hospitals or companies that have businesses in around that are doing employment. So people are not just like, going to these areas, there's nothing here. And by the time they rent it, they're going to look for somewhere else to be living because there's nothing there. Not so dense city area, but like, at least a suburb or remotely close to certain areas where there's a lot of jobs or a lot of factories or businesses that people can actually work and travel. They don't have to spend hours on traveling back to, from work. So that's my take. And then I'll probably go into more details of a real estate video in regards to that. All right. So that was 3. 4. What is number 4? My 4th thing would be stay invested. Now, if you're already invested in the stock market, don't look at the market every day, especially if you're not making any moves. You don't have to look to sell anything. Just hold on tight and get by this, because if you're holding on to, reputable companies that have history, then stay with them. This is not the time to say, oh my God, I'm down 10, 15, 20%. I got to let it go. I got to cut my losses. No, I don't think that would be such a great idea, especially if you're talking about companies that you don't forecast it going out of business in the next year. Unless it's that extreme, then okay, it would make sense to sell. But as of now, if the market is doing so poorly and your position is already below what it is, I would say hold on to it. Hold on as long as you can. If that's money you need to do something else with it, then obviously reconsider it and do, make your moves appropriately, so that if you were to sell off now, you could use that money to generate additional income somewhere else. But not just selling it off and then hoarding back the cash into your checking or savings account, where you're going to lose even more money because of inflation, right? 4 is stay invested. Now, if you bought a house, like for me, I was lucky enough, maybe 2 years ago, I bought a bunch of these houses and prices of these houses went up. It went up tremendously, and I have a lot of equity in there. That's great. And then I have a lot of rental income coming from them as well. Stay invested. Maybe use some of that money, because interest is still low right now, to purchase real estate, whether it's a multifamily or a single family. But as long as you're using it for rental income, you're generating income, then if the cash flow and the numbers make sense, if your cash on cash, all that cap rate makes sense to you, I would put that money into an additional investment such as real estate to bring me back more money to hedge this inflation. You don't want to hoard the cash and just let it sit there, because as time goes by, you're missing out on this opportunity. For one, the stock market is coming down a lot on a lot of these companies, tech stocks whatever, certain stocks are coming down in prices and it's becoming more attractive, right? So do your homework in there. Then real estate, interest rates are still low at the current moment, even though it's slowly increasing, but it's still historically really low. I mean, we're talking about 3%, 4% range, right? My refinance currently is at 4.5%, just to put that out there. Of course, if you were to buy a multifamily home and you will live in one unit and rent out the other, you can get your primary residence interest rates, which is like probably 3% or a little lower. That's my take on it. I wanted to go through all that and explain. So those are my 4 things. 1, do not hoard your cash into the savings account. 2, invest in your stocks. Do your homework, find out what company is a good buy right now. I have spreadsheets that guide me towards that. I analyze that as well. It's not like I'm buying stocks every week, but I try to at least keep up with it and see what the current prices are. I don't particularly look at my stocks because if I'm not buying or selling, I'm not looking at mine. I try to forget about it until I really need to look at it if I'm ready to reinvest more into it. 3 is real estate. Look for properties that generate income for you. Rental properties, multifamilies. Like that's money that you can use to reinvest. 4 is stay invested. Always stay invested, because the last thing you want to do is head in towards retirement with just working a 9 to 5. You don't want that. You need to have money work for you. And so that's my take on this whole inflation talk. I don't know if it's going to happen. It might not. But either way, invest. All right? Thank you guys for being here.